When Ji Xiang pushed the resignation letter in front of me, the meeting room was filled with company executives. His new secretary, Yi Mani, stood behind him with red eyes, whispering, "Deputy President Shen, it's all my fault, but President Ji says this position suits me better." I didn't argue, I just put the resignation letter into the folder and then sent 4 characters to Attorney Ju under the table. Startup plan. When Ji Xiang pushed the resignation letter in front of me, the meeting room was filled with company executives. His new secretary, Yi Mani, stood behind him with red eyes, whispering, "Deputy President Shen, it's all my fault, but President Ji says this position suits me better." I didn't raise my voice, I just put that resignation letter into the folder, and under the table, I sent Attorney Ju 4 characters. Starting the plan. The meeting room is very quiet. A few characters are still lit on the big screen. Star Ocean Technology Organization Upgrade Conference. I am sitting in the 3rd seat on the left side of the long table. This is the seat I have occupied for 5 years. Since there were only 7 people in the company, I have been handling the budget, reviewing contracts, negotiating rents, comforting departing employees, and I even personally helped move server racks a few times. But today, Ji Xiang stood at the head of the table and spoke in a steady voice. From today onward, the administrative center and the president's office are merged. With Yi Mani is in charge. Shen Tang's health has not been good recently, and she should take a rest too. Someone lowered their head. Someone glanced at me secretly. Yi Mani was wearing a white Chanel-style suit, holding a file in her arms. The corners of her eyes were reddened, as if she had suffered a great grievance. She said, "Deputy General Manager Shen, I really didn't mean to snatch your position. General Manager Ji just feels that you've been too harsh on everyone lately." I looked at her but didn't say a word. Ji Xiang frowned. "Shen Tang, Mani has just joined the company not long ago. Don't give her that look." I smiled a little. "Which kind of gaze?" His face sank. "Today there's a company meeting. Don't mess around." I've heard this sentence far too many times. My mother-in-law, in front of relatives, said I couldn't bear children, and he told me not to make a scene. Yi Mani sneaked him stomach medicine late at night, took a photo to post on Moments with the caption, "People who understand you don't need to say much." I asked a question, and he said not to make a scene now, in front of the whole company. He gives up my 5-year position to another woman, even shoves the resignation letter in my face, and he still tells me not to make a scene. I lower my head to look at the resignation letter. My name is already printed above Shen Tang. The reason for leaving has also been written. Due to personal health reasons, I voluntarily resign from the position of executive. I'm the vice president at Xinghan Technology. Voluntarily. Those 2 characters are truly glaring. I pick up the pen. Ji Xian's expression relaxes a bit. A glimmer also flashes in Yi Mani's eyes. She thinks I'll sign, but I only write the date in the upper right corner of the resignation letter, then put the pen cap back on. I'll take this, whether I sign or not. I'll go back and decide after I've read it thoroughly. Ji Xian's expression immediately changes. "Shen Tang, don't make things awkward for everyone. Aren't you the one making it awkward?" I look at him. "If you ask me to resign in front of the entire staff meeting, isn't that awkward?" He lowers his voice. "I'm giving you a way out. You've been at the company for too long. Your temper has become tougher, and the people under you are afraid of you. Mani is young, approachable, and knows how to share the workload with me." I nod. "What does she know?" Yi Mani immediately lowers her head. "Vice President Shen, I know you look down on me, but I'm really trying to learn." Ji Xiang immediately steps in front of her. "Enough." He looks at me with a disappointed gaze. "Shen Tang, you weren't like this before. You used to support me, instead of contradicting me at every turn." My heart feels as if it's been struck by something dull and heavy in my chest. Before, he talks so casually. In the past, when the company couldn't afford to pay salaries, I used the money my mother left behind to cover it. Before, when he was yelled at by investors and his face turned pale, I stood in the hallway, flipping through the pages of the plan, helping him get through the roadshow. Before, when he had a gastric hemorrhage and was hospitalized, I stayed at the company during the day and kept watch over his hospital bed at night. Later, the company flourished. He began to dislike my assertiveness, dislike that I am overly controlling, and dislike that I am not like Yi Mani, who knows how to act spoiled, who raises her face and says, "Hello, General Manager Ji. You are so amazing." I put the resignation letter into the folder. "Let's continue the meeting." Ji Xiang was stunned. What do you mean? Isn't there an organizational upgrade? I looked at the big screen. Mr. Ji, please continue. Someone in the conference room held their breath. Ji Xiang stared at me intently. He was probably waiting for me to bang the table, waiting for me to cry, waiting for me to bow my head first so that he could sourly smile as he did before. But I didn't. I sat very calmly because the phone under the desk had already vibrated. Lawyer Ju replied, "Received. The authorization documents will be delivered tonight." After Ji Xiang finished speaking about the organizational restructuring, he announced that Yi Mani would officially take over the president's office. The applause was sparse. Yi Mani stepped onto the stage, her voice soft. "Thank you, General Manager Ji, for your trust, and thank you, Vice President Shen, for your highly value my contributions to the company. I'm aware that I still have numerous shortcomings, and I'll strive hard in the future to become the most reliable person for General Manager Ji, the most reliable person." She uttered those words very slowly, as if deliberately addressing me. I looked up at her. "Secretary Yi, reliability isn't something to be just spoken about. The President's office has to handle contracts, apply seals, deal with procurement, and conduct financial preliminary reviews. Can you manage it?" Her face turned pale. Ji Xiang immediately said, "I'll personally guide her." I nodded. "That's good." When the meeting ended, no one dared to approach me. Only when the financial manager, Qin Wei, passed by me did she pause for half a second. She lowered her voice. "President Shen, are you really leaving?" I glanced at her. There are very few people in the company who still call me Mr. Shen. Most people call me Vice President Shen. Following Ji Xiang, only those who were here in the early days know that the first money we earned back then was deposited into the company's account by me. I said, "No rush." Qin Wei's eyes flickered, and she didn't ask again. I carried the folder and walked out of the meeting room. Just as I reached the corridor, Yi Mani chased after me. Her voice wasn't loud, but it happened to be audible to people nearby. "Deputy General Shen, are you mad at me?" "Actually, General Ji was also in a difficult situation last night. He said you had endured a lot with him, so he didn't want to be too harsh." I stopped. I stood still in my tracks. "Last night, she seemed to have let something slip and immediately covered her mouth." "I didn't mean that. Mr. Ji had simply worked late, and I brought him some food." I looked at her. There wasn't a hint of panic in her eyes. Instead, they held a hint of pride. Ji Xiang stepped out of the conference room, just in time to hear the last sentence. He frowned at me. "Shen Tang, are you making things difficult for her again?" I laughed. "Did I speak?" Yi Mani immediately grabbed his sleeve. "President Ji, forget it. It's my fault." Ji Xiang looked at her, and his eyes softened. In that moment, I suddenly felt very bored, not painful, just tired. 5 years of marriage, 7 years of relationship. So the defeat wasn't by Yi Mani, but by Ji Xiang, who finally doesn't want to pretend anymore. He isn't unaware of her provocations. He simply enjoys someone standing behind him, watching him with admiration. And I am too clear-eyed, too aware of his origins, too familiar with his past embarrassment. I pick up the folder and walk past them. Ji Xiang called me from behind. "Shen Tang, we'll talk when we get home tonight." I did not turn around. "There's no need." His voice turned husky. "Don't regret it." I pressed the elevator button. When the door opened, I saw myself in the mirrored surface. White shirt, black dress pants, hair neatly arranged, yet the eyes cold as a block of frozen water. I took the ring off my left hand ring finger, not thrown away, just tucked it. I put it into the folder's inner pocket. There is already a resignation letter inside, and the approval page for the organizational restructure I just photographed. Before the elevator doors closed, I heard Yi Mani softly say, "President Ji, Vice President Shen seems really angry." Ji Xiang sneered. "She can't live without the company. She can't live without me either." The elevator doors closed completely. I looked at the next message from Lawyer Ju on my phone. "Tang Tang, the shareholding agreement from 5 years ago has always been valid." I sent back 2 words, "Very good." The next morning, my access card wouldn't work. The girl at the front desk looked at me, embarrassed. "Vice President Shen, the system shows that your access rights were adjusted last night. Now the administrative center permissions are managed by Secretary Yi." I nodded. "Who adjusted them?" She whispered. "General Manager Ji approved it in person." I didn't give her a hard time. I just stood outside the glass door, watching the familiar office area. Inside, the green plants I picked for myself are still there, the long desk I chose is still there, the slogan on the wall about being efficient, transparent, and keeping the bottom line is still there, only my name has been removed. The administration center person in charge row has been replaced by Yi Mani. The characters still look quite new, as if a slap had just hit. The mark stings hot. Yi Mani walked out from inside. Today she wore a light blue dress, and on her wrist was the scarf I knew well. That scarf was given to me by Gu Xiang at last year's company annual banquet. I have only worn it once. Later, I kept it in the office drawer. Now, it is tied around Yi Mani's wrist. She pretends to be surprised. Deputy General Manager Shen, why are you standing outside? Oh, I forgot. The access permissions were just adjusted last night. I haven't had time to issue you a temporary entry code yet, she said, pulling out her phone and tapping a few times slowly. Just wait a moment, I'm not very good at this. I looked at her wrist. The scarf is nice. Her smile stiffened for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. Really, President Gu said last night that my wearing blue is too plain, so he casually helped me pair something. I don't know if it's yours. I didn't expose it. Doesn't she know? There is a combination lock on the drawer in my office. There are only two possibilities for what she can pull out. Either Gu Xiang gave her the password or he opens it himself and hands it to her. Both are disgusting enough. The door opened. I walked in. People at their desks pretended to be busy. I walked all the way to the door of my own office. Inside had changed. My books were stuffed into cardboard boxes, piled in the corner. The old photo on the desk was missing. Yi Mani's aromatherapy, fresh flowers, and pink cups filled the table. She followed behind me, whispering, President Gu said you won't come often in the future, so the office would be empty and wasted, so let me use it first. Vice President Shen, you won't mind, right? I walked over to the cardboard box and crouched down. The topmost book is the contract management manual from 5 years ago. The cover is already worn. Back then, the company had no money to hire legal counsel, so I followed the templates and built the policies bit by bit. Gu Xiang held me and said at the time, Tang Tang, half of Xinghan will be yours in the future. Later, more than half of Xinghan was actually mine, only, he forgot. I took out the manual and brushed off the dust. Secretary Yi, have you handed over the fixed asset list for this office? She paused for a moment. What? I stood up. Desks, chairs, computers, safes, file cabinets, stamp borrowing cabinets. Each has a number. You're taking over the office, and according to the system, you must sign the handover form. The smile on her face couldn't stay put. Mr. Gu says there's no need to go through all that trouble. Mr. Gu's words don't equal what the system allows. Her eyes immediately turned red. Vice President Shen, I'm new here and don't understand. Why do you have to pin such a small mistake on me? Outside the office, the crowd grew even quieter. Gu Xian's voice came from the doorway. Shen Tang, what are you up to so early in the morning? He walked in, looking impatient. Yi Mani immediately lowered her head. President Gu, it's okay, I just didn't do well enough. Gu Xiang looked at me. You already promised to hand over yesterday. And you come to nitpick again today. I put the contract management manual into the box. I didn't promise to hand over. I just said I'd discuss it after reading the resignation letter, he said coldly. Shen Tang, don't nitpick. The company isn't just yours. I raised my eyes to look at him. Are you sure? He frowned. What do you mean? I smiled. Nothing. Just a reminder. The bigger the company, the more you must follow the procedures. If you let Secretary Yi skip the handover process now and something goes wrong, who is to blame? Gu Xiang hadn't spoken yet when Yi Mani suddenly spoke up. If there really is a problem, I'll take responsibility. She spoke softly, yet with poise, like a woman who is willing to shoulder matters for Gu Xiang. Gu Xian's expression indeed softened. See, Mani is more sensible than you. I nodded. All right, I've noted this down. I took out my phone and messaged Qin Wei. Come to my office. 2 minutes later, Qin Wei came in with a folder. She saw the changes in the office, and her gaze darkened, but she asked nothing. I said, for the administrative center fixed assets handover, Secretary Yi just said there's no need to check. She is willing to take responsibility. You be the witness. Yi Mani's expression changed. Deputy General Manager Shen, I didn't mean that. I looked at her. Did you forget what was just said so soon? Gu Xiang said in a deep voice. Enough. Qin Wei, You may go out first. Qin Wei remained standing still. President Gu, the handover of fixed assets indeed requires financial witness, especially since Vice President Shen's office has a seal, borrowing cabinet and historical contract backups. We cannot skip the process. Jiu Xian's face looked worse. He probably didn't expect that Qin Wei, who was usually not talkative, would confront him in person. I packed up the cardboard box. Since President Gu doesn't want to hand over today, I'll move a few personal items first. The seal cabinet, the contract cabinet, the old computers, I didn't sign, and whoever touches them will be responsible. Yi Mani bit her lip. Jiu Xiang fixed his gaze on me. Do you have to make the S? Why is the situation this ugly? I picked up the cardboard box. The ugliness isn't in the process, it's in people's eagerness. After speaking, I walked out of the office. Old Zheng rose from beside his workstation. He was the company's earliest technical supervisor. With a few strands of white in his hair, he walked over and took the cardboard box from my hand. President Shen, I'll help you, thank you, he called out. Mr. Shen, very clearly on purpose. Someone in the office area looked up. Yimani's face looked grim. Jiu Xian's gaze at Old Zheng also grew cold. Old Zheng, the company has a new arrangement now. Don't join in the clamor. Old Zheng smiled. President Jiu, I'm just helping Mr. Shen move things. 5 years ago, when there was no elevator, I helped her move the servers like this as well. This sentence was like a small stone, sinking into a pool of stagnant water. Many veteran employees hung their heads. They remembered who cooked noodles for them late at night during the company's hardest times, who was the one who ran to 3 banks alone after a client cancelled the order, who was so money-saving that they even climbed a ladder themselves to change a broken office light. Jiu Xiang also remembered. His face stiffened for a moment, but soon, he regained his cold indifference. The past is not something to keep bringing up. I didn't reply, because the past will come back to me on its own soon enough. At noon, Qin Wei came to see me. We sat down in the downstairs cafe. She pushed a procurement pre-approval form in front of me. General Manager Shen, there are problems with this equipment procurement. The quoted price is 30% higher than the market price, and the supplier is newly established. Secretary Yi recommended them. I opened the document. Supplier name, Hengqi Trading Co., Limited. Legal representative, Yi Chiming. I gazed at this name, and my fingertips came to a halt. What is the relationship between Yi Mani and him? Qin Wei lowered her voice. I checked the industrial and commercial records. Yi Chiming is her mother's younger brother. I smiled. She's pretty quick. Qin Wei said. Mr. Gu has already signed the intent approval and is just waiting for financial payment. Typically, these large purchases require your review, but your authorization has been reassigned. They want to bypass you. I closed the documents. Without my signature, the payment can't go through. Qin Wei was momentarily stunned. Mr. Gu said that your privileges have been revoked. I watched her. Administrative authority can be cancelled, but joint custody of funds cannot be cancelled by him. Qin Wei's eyes flashed. I pulled out my phone and opened the old backup of my mailbox. Last night, Lawyer Ju reminded me that all major contracts from the company's early days were synchronized to my personal backup email. Back then, it was to prevent data loss. If the server failed now, it has become my first card to play. I searched for Hengqi. Soon, a forwarding an email popped up. The sender was Yi Mani. The recipient was an external email address. Attachment name, Xinghan Internal Procurement Budget Version. The sending time was the night before she formally took over the administrative center. I captured the page and saved it. When Qin Wei saw it, her expression changed. This is leaking internal quotes. I nodded. Don't reveal it yet, she asked. So what do you plan to do? I looked outside the cafe. Jiu Xian's car was parked at the door. Yi Mani sat in the front passenger seat, bowing her head to adjust his tie. The gesture was very intimate. It was also very blinding, but this time I didn't feel heartache. I just downloaded that email and put it into a new folder. The folder name was very simple, liquidation. Jiu Xiang still went home in the evening. When he came in, he threw his coat onto the couch. Shen Tang, have you caused enough trouble at the company today? I was tidying up documents at the dining table. Hearing this sentence, I didn't even lift my head. Nothing noisy, just following procedure. He walked over and pulled at his tie. Regulations, regulations. All you ever do is rely on rules to oppress people. The company won't develop with your rigid rules. I closed the folder. Then what do we rely on? On the new secretary playing to get her way? His face darkened. Can you not speak so unpleasantly? I looked at him. I'm just speaking the truth. He took a deep breath, as if enduring me. I recognized this ex-spray in the past. Whenever he showed this expression, I would step back first. I would pour him a glass of water, explain myself, saying that I'm not targeting anyone, I'm just worried about the risk. Then he would naturally say, Tang Tang, as long as you understand me, that's enough. But today, I didn't move. He went to pour water himself. The cup hit the counter with a loud noise. Mom told us to come back for dinner tonight. I said, I'm not going. He turned to look at me. So what's wrong now? I just don't feel like it. Shen Tang, he lowered his voice. Don't bring the emotions from the company home. Mom's blood pressure hasn't been good lately. Don't upset her. I smiled. Your mom's blood pressure isn't good. So I'm going to listen to her scold me. He frowned impatiently. She's an elder. What's wrong with saying a few words? I put the papers on the desk into my bag. Then you go by yourself. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then suddenly sneered. Are you afraid of meeting Manny? My movements froze. Is she going too? My mom told her to come over for a meal. Manny just joined the company and is new to the place. Mom likes her and wants to take care of her. I stared at the man in front of me. He actually managed to bring the new secretary to our family banquet and spoke about it so naturally. Jiyu Xiang, do you know what you're doing? His eyes flashed for a moment and then stiffened quickly again. Shen Tang. Don't think all relationships are so D30. Man and I are innocent and clean, innocent and clean. These 4 words came out of his mouth too smoothly. I suddenly remembered 2 years ago, when a partner deliberately got me drunk. Jiyu Xiang lost his temper on the spot and slammed the cup onto the table. He said, my wife doesn't need to drink with anyone. Back then, his protectiveness of me was genuine. Now, his protectiveness of another woman is also genuine. When a person's heart changes, they don't immediately become a bad person. He simply takes the favoritism he used to give you and passes it to someone else. I stood up. Okay, I'll go. Jiyu Xiang breathed a sigh of relief. Don't sulk when you get there. Manny is young, and Mom likes lively scenes. I picked up the bag. Don't worry. I won't make a scene. The Jiyu family villa is in the south of the city. The final payment for decorating this set of houses was paid by me 3 years ago. Mr. Gu's mother has always said that it was her son who could afford to buy the house. I didn't expose it because at that time, I felt that a family didn't need to be counted too precisely. Now that I think about it, those who don't count carefully are often calculated against the harshest. When I arrived at the Jiyu family, Manny was already sitting in the living room. She had changed into a beige dress and was assisting Mrs. Jiyu with the flower arrangement. Mrs. Jiyu smiled so hard that she could barely keep her mouth closed. Manny's daughter is really dexterous with her hands. Unlike there are some people who wear a cold face all day, only talk about work, and have no feminine charm at all. I had just stepped in when I heard this sentence. Jiyu Xiang glanced at me. The meaning was obvious. Hold it in. I changed my shoes and walked in. Manny immediately stood up. Deputy General Shen, you're here. Mother Jiyu frowned. Even at home, why call her Deputy General Shen? It sounds distant. Manny, you should just call her Sister Shen. I sat down. No need. She is President Gu's secretary. Maintaining a clear separation between public and private matters is better. Gu's mother's face darkened. Your mouth really refuses to show mercy at all. Manny hurriedly smoothed things over. Auntie, Sister Shen might still be unhappy about work. Actually, I understand her well. After all, she held that position for so long, and suddenly it's me. It's normal for her to feel upset. Gu's mother listened and then immediately looked at me. Don't blame Shiyang either. A man building a career outside needs a compliant and sensible helper. You're too domineering, always managing this and that. Which man can stand it? I smiled. So you summoned me today. Is this for a meal or to hold a denunciation session? Jiyu Xiang put down the cup. Shen Tang, mind your attitude. What's wrong with my attitude? Mother Jiyu sneered. Look at her. Just look. Xiang, you should have had her leave the company long ago. Women should return to the family. I looked at her. Return to the family. And then continue to send 80,000 living expenses to this family every month. The living room fell silent in an instant. Mother Gu's face changed. What do you mean? I picked up my phone and opened the transfer history. 3 years and 4 months daily living expenses, villa maintenance costs, the maid's salary, the driver's salary, and your monthly physical therapy fees all come out of my private account. Mother Gu looked sharply at Gu. Xiang, Gu Xian's face darkened. Shentang, is this interesting to you right now? Interesting, I said. I didn't mention it before because I regarded you all as family. Now that you think Secretary Yi is more suitable for this family, I'll leave these expenses to her from now on. Yi Mani's face turned pale. Mother Gu was immediately anxious. She is just a young girl. How could she have the money to manage these things? I nodded. So she is only suitable for arranging flowers, not for running a household. Mother Gu slammed the table in anger. Shentang, don't go too far. I stood up. It's you who are going too far. Gu Xiang also stood up, suppressing his anger. Do you have to lay out the family accounts in front of outsiders? I glanced at Yi Mani. Is she a stranger? I thought you already considered her one of your own. Yi Mani's eyes reddened again. Sister Shen, I really am not here to wreck your family. I cut her off immediately. Then don't sit next to my mother. In-law, take the chopsticks you gave, I said to my husband. I earn the money and support all of you with the meals I pay for. After that sentence was spoken, Jiu Mu's face turned pale. Jiu Xiang snarled at me. Enough, I picked up my bag. That's enough, in front of them. I took out my phone and turned off the automatic transfer of living expenses to the Jiu family. The screen displayed, cancelled. Gu's mother saw it and immediately stood up. Shentang, how dare you? I put my phone back into my bag. I dare to do so. Jiu Xiang quickly blocked my way. What exactly do you want? I looked at him. I want you to know what will be left of this home when I stop giving. His expression became complex for a moment, as if he was realizing for the first time that I wasn't just talking casually. But Yi Mani quickly helped Jiu Mu. Mr. Jiu, Auntie doesn't look well. You shouldn't argue with Sister Shen right now. Jiu Xiang turned to look at Jiu Mu and indeed released the hand that was blocking me. I turned and walked outside. The scolding from Jiu Mu came from behind. If you leave today, don't come back. I didn't stop the moment the door closed. I heard Jiu Xiang call my name, but I had already made up my mind. The night wind was very cold. I opened the car door and placed the bag on the front passenger seat. The phone rang. It was a bank SMS. The cancellation of the automatic transfer to the Jiu family was successful. Immediately after, Lawyer Ju sent a document, the materials revoking Jiu Xian's partial authorization for Tang Ying investment are ready. They can be signed tomorrow. I looked at those words and suddenly felt very calm. Not all departures have to be accompanied by a scream. Sometimes, just turning off a transfer button can reveal many relationships in their true colors. Early the next morning, Jiu Xiang made more than 10 calls. I didn't pick up a single one. When I got to the company, he was already waiting for me beside my temporary workstation. Yes, the temporary workstation. After Yi Mani took over the administrative center, she occupied my office. HR arranged a small desk near the printer for me. Even the power strip on the desk is broken. I put down my bag and turned on the computer. Jiu Xiang wore a cold expression. Why didn't you come home last night? Is that my home too? He was taken aback. Mom hasn't slept all night because you made her angry. I tapped the keyboard. Then she can think about it. Without my money, who will pay the nanny's salary next month? Shentang, he slammed his palm on the table. All the other surrounding staff looked over here. Yi Mani stood a short distance away, holding a cup of coffee in her hand, with an expression on her face that clearly showed she was watching the show. Jiu Xiang realized the occasion was inappropriate and lowered his voice. Let's go to the conference room to talk. I shut the laptop. Perfect timing. I have something to deal with as well. In the small conference room, the purchasing department manager, Qin Wei, and Yi Mani were all present. On the table lay the Pro. I received an equipment procurement contract from Hengqi Trade. I just sat down, and Jiu Xiang pushed a statement of responsibility towards me. This equipment procurement has some problems. The budget approval process is incomplete. You were previously responsible for administrative pre-review, so you should bear this responsibility. I looked at the words on the paper. Person in charge, Shentang. Reason: the former head of the administrative center failed to hand over in time, resulting in missing procurement documents. I almost burst out laughing. Jiu Xiang, do you want to check the date? His expression remained unchanged. Although the contract was finalized after Mani took over, The initial vendor pool was established by you, and the administrative center system was also set up by you. Now that problems have arisen, as the former person in charge, it's not excessive for you to bear part of the responsibility. The head of the procurement department kept his head down and said nothing. Qin Wei's face looked very grim. Yi Mani whispered, Sister Shen, General GU is also doing this for the company's sake. Now the vendors are pressing hard. If we don't make the payment soon, it will affect the project schedule. I picked up the contract, project progress. I flipped to the quotation page. For the same model of equipment, the market average price is 1.2 million, while Hongqi quotes 165 million, the extra 450,000. Are you buying air? Yi Mani's face turned pale. The procurement department manager cleared his throat. HengQI promises faster after-sales service. Where are the after-sales terms? He stopped talking. I flipped the contract to the end. The payment term is 80% prepaid, even though the equipment hasn't been warehoused yet. You're asking for a payment of 132 million first. Mr. GU, did you approve this? GU Xian's eyes flashed for a moment. I approved the intention, not the final payment. I nodded. Then why does this responsibility say I should sign? His voice lowered. Shen Tang, don't get hung up on the details. The priority now is to first stabilize the suppliers. Who should we hold steady for? I looked up. Are we talking about stabilizing Secretary Yi's uncle? The conference room fell instantly silent. Yi Mani stood up abruptly. Sister Shen, what do you mean? I put the business registration documents on the table. Changqi Trading's legal representative Yi Qiming, Secretary Yi's mother's younger brother. Do you want me to continue? The head of the procurement department's face suddenly turned pale. GU Xiang looked at Yi Mani. Yi Mani's tears immediately fell. General GU, I didn't deliberately hide anything. My uncle's company does supply equipment. I just thought it would be best to keep the profits in-house, and he promised us the fastest delivery. I smiled. Company procurement. The first rule is disclosure of interest relationships. You didn't disclose, and you even sent the internal budget to an external email. Her pupils constricted. I didn't. I unlocked my eye, placed a screenshot of the email on the desktop. Sender, recipient, attachment name, time all clearly identified. Yi Mani panicked. This is about work communication. I just asked him to take a look at the price. Qin Wei spoke coldly. Internal budgets cannot be disclosed to suppliers' relatives. That's a basic red line. GU Xiang did not speak immediately. I looked at him. I want to know how he would choose this time. The evidence was laid out in front of us. It's not that I'm overly sensitive, nor that I'm being aggressive, nor that I'm misunderstanding. Yi Mani leaked the budget, concealed her kinship, and pushed for high-priced procurement. As long as he still regards the company as a proper entity, he should immediately suspend the contract. But GU Xiang was silent for a few seconds and then said, Mani is inexperienced, and there are indeed problems with the process, but subjectively, she is doing what's best for the company. I looked at him. The last shred of hope in my heart has completely collapsed. So what then? He said, we'll continue to push the contract forward, and Mani will write a self-criticism. You'll also sign a statement of responsibility to account for the unclear handover. Qin Wei couldn't help but speak up. General Manager GU, this is not compliant. GU Xiang looked at her. Qin Wei, you are the financial manager, not the chairman. Qin Wei's face turned pale. I picked up the statement of responsibility. GU Xiang thought I had finally compromised. His tone softened a bit. Shen Tang, I know you're feeling uncomfortable, but the company can't be stalled because of your private conflict with Mani. I slowly tore that paper into 2 halves. Then I tore it into 4 quarters. The shredded paper fell onto the conference table. Yi Mani stepped back in fright. GU Xian's face turned pale. Shen Tang, I stood up. I won't take the blame for this. I can't pay for this model, either. GU Xiang sneered. You think you still have payment approval authority? I looked at him. You can give it a try. He immediately picked up his phone and called the CFO. That payment from Hongqi will be arranged for sending out today. The other end of the line said something, which was unclear. GU Xian's expression changed a little. What do you mean by system restrictions? Who restricted it? He looked up at me. I picked up my bag. Mr. GU, the notification of revocation for the Joint Funds Management Authorization has already been delivered to the bank half an hour ago. From now on, any abnormal payments over 500,000 yuan cannot be moved by anyone without board authorization. He suddenly stood up. On what basis do you speak? I looked at him, word for word. With this authority I have. He started breathing harder. Yimani grabbed his arm in panic. Boss Gu, then what should we do about my uncle's side? He has already prepared the stock. The moment she spoke, she knew she had blown her cover. Stocking up. The contract hadn't even been formally approved, yet her uncle had already stockpiled goods. It shows that they had long treated this money as a sure thing in their pockets. Qin Wei noted it down immediately. The head of the purchasing department broke into a sweat. Jiyu Xiang shook off Yimani's hand. For the first time, his gaze at her carried anger. But he hates me more. Shentang, you've made things like this. What benefit is there? What's in it for you? I walk to the door and then turn back. No benefit, but I don't want to clean up this mess for you anymore. Before the door closed, I heard Yimani crying as she explained. Jiyu Xiang did not comfort her this time. He finally began to be afraid. I left the company and went straight to the bank. Lawyer Ju was already waiting for me in the VIP room. She is in her 50s this year, with neatly arranged hair and dressed in a dark grey suit. When she saw me, she only asked one question. Have you thought it through? Sit down. Have you thought it through? She pushed the document in front of me. It states to revoke Jiyu Xian's investment authorization for Tang Ying. Restore all your own voting rights. There is also a notification of joint custody of large funds by Xinghan Technology. The bank has already accepted it. I opened the file. Every page is very familiar. 5 years ago, after my mother passed away, she left me a sum of money, not a staggering fortune, but enough to keep Xinghan alive from a dying project at that time. Jiyu Xiang wasn't Mr. Jiyu yet. He lived in a rental room in a village-like suburb, unwilling to replace his broken computer. I made the first investment. There were 2 more additional investments later. In order to protect the marriage and to avoid outsiders saying that he started from his wife, I put my shares into Tang Ying Investment to be managed by Lawyer Ju. On the surface, I am only the vice president of administration of the company. Jiyu Xiang knows he contributed money but doesn't know that I ultimately obtained the controlling stake, or rather, he knew it then. Only after the company grew bigger did he choose to forget. Lawyer Ju looked at me. You told me not to disclose the equity back then. I advised you. I signed. It's not too late to make this public now, either. She sighed. Tang, I won't ask about your marriage, but legally speaking, you have conceded too much. The final payment for the Jiyu family villa, his mother's medical treatment and therapy fees, his brother's startup loan, all of these have come from your personal account. If you want to settle accounts, I can help you sort them out. I put down my pen. Tidy everything up. Lawyer Ju nodded. About the divorce. My hand holding the pen paused for a moment, then I continued signing. Ready. As soon as the 2 words left my mouth, I didn't feel the pain I had imagined. It was more like finally taking off a piece of clothing that had been worn for too long and squeezed the life out of me. I came out of the bank and my phone rang. It was Jiyu Xiang. I answered. He began by questioning, "Where are you?" "At the bank." "Did you really revoke the authorization?" He flared up. "Shentang, do you know that you are going to affect the company project this way? Hengqi is already making a scene over there." I walked to the roadside. The sunlight was a bit dazzling. "Then let them throw a fit. Are you going to ruin the company over something as trivial as this? Just a small thing." I laughed. Leaking internal budgets, concealing related party transactions, inflating bids, and pushing for advance payments. Is that called just a small thing? He was silent for 2 seconds. Manny is immature, but she doesn't have a bad heart. Why can't you give newcomers a chance? I asked him. If it were me who made a mistake today, would you give me a chance? He didn't answer because the answer is obvious. If it were me, he would say that I'm domineering, that I'm derelict in my duties, and that I'm not fit to stay at the company. He would push the resignation letter in front of me just like yesterday. I said, Jiyu Xiang, you can't say you don't have principles. You've just left the principles to me and given your preference to her. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. His voice lowered. Shentang, let's not speak so harshly. When we get home tonight, we'll have a proper talk. I'm not going back tonight. How long are you going to keep this up? I watched the people coming and going on the street, until you sign the divorce papers. The sound of a cup shattering came from the other end of the line. What did you say? I will have my lawyer contact you. He was breathing hard. Shentang, are you threatening me with divorce? Not a threat, a notice. I hung up in the afternoon. I returned to the company. As soon as I entered the hall, I saw people from Hungchi Trade blocking the front desk. A middle-aged man spoke loudly. WVE prepared. All the goods. You say you won't pay. Who's responsible? Imani stood to the side, so anxious that tears kept falling. Uncle, don't be like this. This is a company, uncle. When the front desk girl heard these two words, her face changed. Jiyu Xiang stepped out of the elevator. CEO Yi, please discuss it in the meeting room. Yi Chiming sneered. General Manager Jiyu, we had an agreement. Now the money hasn't arrived, and my warehouse is full of stock. Who will compensate for the losses? I walked over. Whoever told you that, go find them. Yi Chiming looked at me. Who are you? Imani hurriedly pulled him. Uncle, this is Vice President Shen. Yi Chiming sized me up from head to toe. Oh, is that the old woman who was removed from her post? The receptionist gasped. Jiyu Xian's face also changed. CEO Yi, watch your words. Yi Chiming thought he was in the right. Did I say something wrong? Manny said it. The company is now under your control. Jiyu, a deputy general manager about to resign. Why should he block my funds? I laughed. What else did Imani tell you? Imani's face turned pale. Sister Shen, don't beat around the bush. I took out my phone and turned on the recorder, not secretly recording. I directly showed them the screen. From now on, every sentence you say can be used as material for dispute resolution. If you're willing to speak, speak. If not, leave. Yi Chiming finally realized something was wrong. Jiyu Xiang frowned. Shentang, don't blow things out of proportion. I looked at him. It has already escalated. The supplier has blocked the company's reception desk, disrupting normal work, and it involves related party transactions and contract disputes. Mr. Jiyu, are you planning a private settlement? Jiyu Xian's face darkened. Imani cried. Mr. Jiyu, my uncle was just too anxious. He didn't do it on purpose. I looked at her. Secretary Yi, you now have two options. First, admit that you violated the procedures and proactively submit an explanation. Second, I will have the finance, legal, and procurement departments conduct a joint investigation. She bit her lip and said nothing. Jiyu Xiang suddenly spoke. Shentang, you are not qualified to organize the investigation. I nodded. Okay. I turned to look at Qin Wei. Inform the finance department to continue freezing the relevant funds of Hungchi. Seal all procurement records handled by Imani. Qin Wei immediately said. Received. Jiyu Xiang was angry. Qin Wei, I am the president. Qin Wei took a deep breath. General Manager Jiyu, the fund custody notification has taken effect. General Manager Shen has the right to request freezing abnormal payments. All the surrounding staff looked over. General Manager Shen. This title rang out in public for the second time on Jiyu Xian's face. The anger for the first time carried a hint of confusion. He looked at me. What on earth did you do? I calmly said. I simply took back a bit of the authority that originally belonged to me. Yi Chiming I couldn't understand, but he knew the money was gone for good. He pointed at Yi Mani and cursed. Didn't you say Mr. Jiyu could decide? Didn't you say this money was secure? Yi Mani was completely panicked. Uncle, stop talking. But it was already too late. Everyone in the hall heard it. Jiyu Xian's face looked extremely grim. I didn't look at them anymore. I turned and walked into the elevator. When the door closed, I saw Jiyu Xiang standing in the center of the lobby. He didn't chase after Yi Mani immediately but stared at me. The whole time in that gaze, there was anger, unwillingness, and a hint of the panic that had finally surfaced. It's a pity it's too late. A week before the Star Sea anniversary banquet, the atmosphere in the company turned strange. After Hungchi's procurement was frozen, Yi Mani was quiet for 2 days. On the third day, she returned to being gentle and sensible. She started preparing for the anniversary banquet. She booked hotels, chose souvenirs, arranged seating, and made promotional videos, and I was completely excluded in the administrative group. She posted a version of the anniversary banquet schedule, opening video, a 5-year retrospective of Mr. Gu's entrepreneurship speaker, Jiyu Xiang, representative of the core team, Yi Mani, among the list of entrepreneurship contributors. I was not there. I looked at that list and smiled. Lao Zheng directly posted in the group. Where is President Shen? There was an instant silence in the group. Yimani didn't reply until a few minutes later. Engineer Zheng, Vice President Shun is planning to leave soon. President Gu, considering that she is not comfortable appearing in public, didn't arrange anything. Old Zheng replied. The company's first business plan was written by Shun, the first batch of employee contracts were signed by Shun, and the first office was negotiated by Shun. Since she's not comfortable appearing in public, who is? The group grew quieter. Soon, Jiyu Xiang sent a message. The anniversary banquet arrangement is subject to the final version of the president's office. Old Zheng didn't say anything more, but in the afternoon, he placed a USB flash drive on my desk. MS. Shun, these are old photos and old videos stored on my computer. Maybe you can use them. I looked up. Old Zheng smiled. I'm not the kind of person who understands marriage, nor do I understand those things at the top, but I know how the company survived. I took the USB drive. Thank you. He waved his hand. We should be the ones saying thanks. That winter when wages were owed, you sold your own car to pay us first. Mr. G. You may have forgotten, but we haven't. I gripped the USB drive. That car was given to me by my mother before she passed away. On the day it was sold, I stood for a long time at the entrance of the used car dealership. Jiyu Xiang held me then and said that he would definitely buy me something better in the future. Later, he really did buy a luxury car. It was registered in his name. The co-pilot sat with me and also sat with Yiman and I didn't think about it anymore. I plugged the USB drive into the computer. There are many old photos inside. A shabby office, instant noodle boxes, a business model on the whiteboard, and a side profile of me sleeping on the desk. In the photos, Jiyu Xiang draped a coat over me. At that time, his eyes were very gentle. I watched for a few seconds and dragged the photo into another folder. Evidence is evidence, feelings are feelings. I will not forgive the later humiliation just because there was gentleness in the past. In the evening, Yamani personally delivered the anniversary banquet invitations. She placed the invitation on my desk. Senior Sister Shun, General Manager Gu said that if you are willing to come, you should sit with the ordinary employees. After all, your position has been adjusted now. It isn't quite appropriate for you to sit at the main table. I opened the invitation. The name written is MS. Shun Tang, not Vice President Shun, not part of the founding team. Just MS. Shun Tang. I closed my eyes. Secretary Yi is quite good at arranging things. She smiles softly. I'm also acting according to Mr. Gu's wishes. Sister Shun, actually you don't need to force yourself. Women, sometimes if you step back, men will feel more heartache. I watched her. Are you knowledgeable? She moved a bit closer, lowering her voice. At least I know that General Manager Gu is coming home less and less now because you work him too hard. I didn't say a word. She thought she had hit the mark. Sister Shun, what President Gu needs is someone who can help him relax, not someone who watches him sign papers, review contracts, and check processes every day. It's fine if you share his hardships, but after a man is successful, what he wants changes. I looked at her young face. She isn't ignorant of what she's doing. She knows all too well. She wants to prove that she's more suited than me for Jiyu Xiang, but she doesn't understand. I don't want Jiyu Xiang anymore. What she took wasn't a treasure, it's the old debt I was about to throw away. I put the invitation back on the table. Yimani, have you heard a saying? What? Sit in a position you shouldn't sit in, and sooner or later you will fall. Her expression turned cold for a moment. Soon, she laughed again. Then see you at the anniversary banquet. She turned to leave. I suddenly called out to stop her. That blue silk scarf. Remember to return it to me after you're done. Her footsteps stalled. What? I said. There's no fixed asset list for the things in my office drawer, but there is a list of personal property. Whatever you took, I've recorded it. Her face turned pale. I bowed my head and continued reading the documents. She stood for a few seconds, finally stepping away in high heels. In the evening, Jiyu Xiang messaged me, you can attend the anniversary banquet, but don't cause trouble. The company needs stability. I looked at that line of I texted and received a single character reply. Okay. He replied very quickly, Shun Tang. We'll discuss the issues between us after the banquet. I didn't reply again. Lawyer Ju happened to call. The board's emergency meeting can be convened on the day of the anniversary banquet. Are you sure you want to choose that day? I stared at the invitation cards on the table. The invitation cover was foil, stamped, Star Ocean's 5th anniversary. Jiyu Xiang wants to erase my name from the company's history on that day. Then I'll let everyone see where Star Ocean's history actually began, I said. Sure, Lawyer Ju asked. Will it look very bad? I laughed. Isn't he the most afraid of looking bad? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then Lawyer Ju said, then let him look bad. On the night of that anniversary banquet, Jiyu Xiang didn't wait for me. He walked in with Yiman and I. When I arrived at the hotel, the signing wall at the entrance of the banquet hall was crowded with people. Yiman and I stood beside Jiyu Xiang, wearing a silver white evening dress I had seen. That dress before, it was the style Jiyu Xiang helped me customize last year because the waistline needed to be adjusted. It was kept at the brand store for a long time now. It was worn by Yiman and I. When Jiyu Xiang saw me, his eyes clearly paused for a moment. I dressed very simply today, a black long dress, pearl earrings, no extravagant jewelry, but I saw a familiar look of amazement flash in his eyes. That kind of look, which I used to care about a great deal, now only strikes me as ridiculous. Yimani linked his arm and walked over with a smile. Sister Shen, you're here. President Jiyu was worried you wouldn't want to come. I took a look at her dress. The clothes look nice. Her smile stiffened slightly. Jiyu Xiang cleared his throat softly. Go ahead, in the banquet hall. The main table is right in front of the stage. I saw the name placards. Jiyu Xiang, Mother Jiyu, Yiman and I, investor representative, important client. There was no place for me. My seat is in the corner of the third row. Near the speakers, old Zheng stood up, his face looking grim. President Shen, please sit here by me. I shook my head. No need. I sat in the corner. A few new employees nearby were secretly looking at me. Someone whispered, isn't this the former Vice President Shen? I heard Mr. Jiyu removed her. Another said, Secretary Yi seems about to be promoted to Chief of Staff soon. President Jiyu treasures her a lot. I also heard that Vice President Shen and President Jiyu aren't on ordinary terms. What's the use of that? It's clear that Secretary Yi is the one getting more favor now. I picked up the water cup and took a sip. Well loved, this word is used so aptly. It seems that Jiyu Xiang is the emperor, and both Yimani and I are waiting for him to flip the sign. Unfortunately, after tonight, they will know that the deed to this palace is not in his hands. The banquet begins. A promotional video is shown on the big screen. In the footage, Jiyu Xiang stands at the roadshow podium, signs the first big order, and moves the team into the new office. I appeared twice. Once, there was just a silhouette. Once, I was standing at the edge of the crowd, and the camera momentarily flashed by. The narration said, 5 years of wind and rain, Mr. Jiyu Xiang leads Xinghan from zero to create a miracle. Applause rang out. I didn't clap. Old Zheng didn't either. Qin Wei sat at another table, looking very cold. Jiyu Xiang took the stage to give a speech. He is dressed very formally today, standing under the lights. He is still a young and capable president in the eyes of outsiders. He says the company is having difficulties. He says the team is united. He talks about the future IPO plans. Finally, he looked at Yi Mani, also thanks to Mani, who recently joined the president's office. She showed me the vitality and warmth of Star Ocean's new generation of managers. Yi Mani stood up, her eyes reddening. The applause was warmer than before. Grandmother Jiyu smiled proudly. She turned to the person beside her and said, Mani is really not bad, far better than some women who only know how to wear a sour face. I heard it. I also saw Jiyu Xian hear it. He did not stop it very soon. The host invited Yimani onto the stage. Yimani held the microphone, her voice soft. I haven't been at Xinghan for long, but Mr. Jiyu has always taught me that management is not a cold system, but the trust between people. From now on, I will strive to be Mr. Gu's most reliable backing, and I hope everyone will support me. There was another round of applause from the audience. After she finished speaking, Gu's mother suddenly stood up. Mani, Auntie supports you. The whole venue burst into laughter. Yimani blushed and lowered her head. Jiyu Xiang also smiled. It was like a family. I sat in the corner, watching this show. Then, the host suddenly said, next, we invite General Manager Jiyu and Secretary Yi to jointly unveil the Xinghan 5-year Champagne Tower. I saw Yimani walk over to Jiyu Xian's side. She naturally stood in the position that should have belonged to the founding partner. Jiyu Xiang did not refuse. Champagne poured out, the golden liquid flowing in layers. The camera focused on them on the big screen. They appeared as a perfect match. Someone started a ruckus. President Gu and Secretary Yi look so well matched together. Gu's mother laughed even louder. Don't talk nonsense. The young people are shy, she said so, but her face was full of satisfaction. I set down the water cup. The bottom of the cup tapped the table, making a very light sound. No one noticed until Mother Gu suddenly looked at me. She looked as if she finally, someone remembered I was still here. Shentang, don't always wear a cold face. Today is a great day for the company. Shi Yang saved a seat for you. You should understand the situation. In the future, if Man Ni helps him at the company, you should go home and live your life well. That's better than anything. The room suddenly fell silent. All eyes were on me. Gu Xiang frowned. Mom. But he didn't stop her. Yimani stood on the stage, looking innocent. I slowly stood up. Mother Gu continued. Women shouldn't always be so competitive. When a man's career is on the rise, he needs respectable people around him. If you still want to be with Shi Yang, stop arguing about that resignation matter. I looked at Gu Xiang. Is that what you think too? Gu Xiang held the microphone and was silent for a few seconds. Shentang, today isn't the time to talk about private matters. I smiled. You all asked me to step down in front of the whole company and then said it's not a private matter. His face changed. Don't make a scene here. That same line again. I picked up the invitation card on the table and walked toward the stage. The high heels stepped on the carpet. The sound wasn't loud, but each step rang clearly. Yimani instinctively stepped back. Gu Xiang lowered his voice. Shentang, what are you planning to do? I took the spare microphone from the host. Since everyone is talking about contributions tonight, let's start with the first amount of money. The audience exploded in an instant. Gu Xian's face turned pale. Turn off the microphone. The sound engineer hesitated. Old Zheng stood up. Let Mr. Shen speak. Qin Wei also stood up. I want to hear it too. More and more people turned their eyes to the stage. I opened the folder I carried with me. The first page is a bank transfer slip from 5 years before Star Ocean Technology was founded. I handed it to the staff. Please project it onto the big screen. Gu Xiang stretched out his hand to stop me. I stared at him. If you dare to block it, I'll have the lawyer come in right now. His hand hung in mid-air. In the next second, the big screen lit up. Transfer amount, pair, recipient account, date clearly and distinctly, pair, Shentang. The audience fell into an uproar. I held the microphone and looked at everyone. 5 years ago, Star Ocean's first startup fund wasn't investment pulled in by Gu Xiang. It was mine. The moment the big screen lit up, Gu Xian's face looked as if all the color had been drained by the light. The audience fell silent. Then the whispers began to spread little by little. Was the money invested by Vice President Shen? Aren't you saying that President Gu started from scratch? The first funds of Star Ocean were actually provided by her. Mother Gu was the first to react. She suddenly stood up. Shentang, what are you talking about? When we started Xiang Enterprises, you didn't even know where we were. I looked at her. Auntie, you forgot. 5 years ago you said he had no house and no car, and was forced to return to his hometown to take the civil service exam. That year during the spring festival, I paid the office deposit for him. Gu Mu's face reddened. Gu Xiang picked up the microphone. Shentang, there's no need to bring up these old matters today. You've donated money, and I've never denied it. But the company could reach where it is today because of the team, not because of a single person's transfer. I nodded. Of course it's the team that matters. So today I'm not here to claim the team's credit either. I turned the page. An old version of the business plan appeared on the large screen. The cover reads, Xinghan Technology Business Plan V10 Authors, Shentang, Gu Xiang. I said, this is the first version of the business plan. Mr. Gu was responsible for the technical direction, and I was responsible for the business model, budget, financing plan, and personnel structure. Old Zheng stood in the audience and spoke. I can attest, during our roadshow back then, we were criticized 6 times. And Mr. Shen changed the plan 3 versions in one night. Then someone said, I also remember that at that time the salaries were covered by Mr. Shen. The muscles on Gu Xian's face tightened. Yimani's tears were still on her face, but she no longer knew whether she should cry. She had originally planned to play the female host, but now, standing on the stage, she looked like a thief who had wandered into someone else's family ancestral hall. I continued turning the pages. This is an early employee contract. This is the lease agreement for the first office. This is the approval for the first batch of equipment procurement. This is a record of me transferring personal funds to the company's petty cash when salaries were overdue. Each page didn't suddenly appear. They were all things that already existed in the company's files. It's just that Jiyu Xiang hadn't mentioned them all these years, and I haven't either. So everyone gradually came to think that Xinghan was his solo legend. I became that grumpy, overbearing vice president Shen who didn't understand gentleness. Jiyu Xiang could not bear it any longer. Shen Tang, what exactly do you want to prove? That I owe you, that I can't do without you. I look at him. I want to prove that you're not qualified to erase my name from Xinghan. His eyes trembled for a moment. This sentence pricked him more than those transfer records, because he knows I am speaking the truth, but Mother Jiyu stubbornly insisted otherwise. Even if you've paid, so what? You're his wife, isn't it supposed to help your husband? Do you still have any shame in a marriage that's this clear-cut? I laughed, so I helped him. It's only natural. It's also natural that he brings his secretary to sit in my seat. Gu's mother was speechless. There were low laughs from the audience below, which were quickly suppressed. Yimani cried as she spoke. Sister Shen, I really didn't intend to erase you. The anniversary video was edited by an external team. I didn't know they would cut you out. I look at her. Is that so? I take out the second document. These are your modification suggestions sent to the video company. Third point, remove Shen Tang's solo shots and downplay her presence during the startup phase. Secretary Yi, can you read? A screenshot of the email appeared on the large screen. Yimani's face turned pale. She instinctively looked at Jiyu Xiang. Jiyu Xiang froze as well. Obviously, he didn't know about this email. I continued. You also required changing the ending credits from founding team Shen Tang to administrative support Shen Tang. There was an uproar from the audience. Old Zheng was so angry that he slammed the table. Administrative support. Without General Shen, Star Ocean would have dispersed long ago. Yimani shook her head. It's not like that, I just think the video is too long, so I had them trim it down. I look at her. Trim down to only Jiyu Xiang and you. She can no longer hold back her tears. Jiyu Xian's expression grew increasingly unpleasant, but he defended her anyway. When Manny handles it improperly, you don't have to humiliate her in public. I was stunned for half a second, then I laughed. Jiyu Xiang, up to this moment, do you still think she is the one being humiliated? He avoided my gaze. I nodded slowly. Okay, I closed the folder, then. Let's talk about something else. Jiyu Xiang becomes alert. Is there anything else? The banquet hall. The doors were pushed open at this moment. Lawyer Ju walked in with two assistants. She was dressed in a dark grey suit, holding a filing box in her hand. Everyone looked over. Jiyu Xian's expression changed. Lawyer Ju didn't look at him at all and walked straight to the podium. Chairman Shen, the materials for the temporary board meeting have been prepared. According to the company charter, the controlling shareholder has the right to convene a temporary meeting when significant risk events occur. Shendong. When these two words fell, the entire banquet hall seemed to be paused. Jiyu Xiang stared at me fixedly. What did she call you? I did not answer. Lawyer Ju opened the file. The largest shareholder of Star Ocean Technology is Tangying Investment, holding 51%. The actual controller of Tangying Investment is MS Shen Tang. The audience exploded in an instant. Mrs. Jiyu sank directly back into her chair. Yimani's lips trembled. Jiyu Xiang seemed to have heard a ridiculous joke. Impossible. Lawyer Ju spoke calmly. Mr. Jiyu, this is the investment and equity agreement signed 5 years ago. You yourself signed it. Jiyu Xian's face began to pale little by little. He remembered that year the company was on the verge of collapse, and he was eager to get the money. The agreement lay in pages in front of him, and he only asked one question. Tang, you won't ruin me, will you? I said at the time, I won't. I really didn't harm him. I even pushed him onto the prezi. I sat in the president's seat, shielding him from all doubts, but in the end, he used this position to force me to resign. I looked at him. Jiyu Xiang, you said the company isn't just mine. You're right. But it is even less a gift you would use to please the new secretary. Lawyer Ju turned to the audience. The directors have confirmed online. The temporary meeting will be held in conference room 2 of the hotel 10 minutes later. Agenda items include the risk of related procurement in Hongqi commercial trade, compliance of the presidential office's authority adjustments, and Mr. Jiyu Xian's management negligence. Ji Xiang finally panicked. He moved closer, lowering his voice. Shen Tang, do you have to go this far? I looked at him. It was you who handed me the resignation letter. His face stiffened. I took that resignation letter out of the folder in front of everyone. I tore it in half. From now on, I'm not resigning. The one who should leave isn't me. When the door of conference room No. 2 closed, Ji Xiang was still standing outside. Lawyer Ju reminded him, General Manager Ji, you are the subject of the inquiry and may attend, but you may not chair the meeting. This sentence felt like a slap in the face. Since founding Xinghan, Ji Xiang has been in the habit of sitting in the main seat. He is used to everyone waiting for him to speak. I am used to sitting by his side to cover his gaps. Habitually, his subordinates call him Mr. Ji. The partners praise him as young and capable. But tonight, I sit at the head position. I didn't deliberately look at him. I just arranged the documents and nodded at Lawyer Ju. Let's begin. There are board members participating online as well as those attending in person. In addition to the early investors, there are 2 independent directors. They used to pay little attention to the company's daily operations because Ji Xian's performance was good, and I had been supporting it from behind the scenes. Now that the risks are out in the open, they have to deal with them. First item, Hengqi Trading Procurement. Qin Wei stood up to report. Hengqi Trading's quote is about 37% higher than the market average. The payment terms are clearly unreasonable, and the supplier has a family relationship with the president's secretary, Yi Mani. This family relationship was not disclosed during the procurement process. She sent the information to everyone. Yi Mani sat in the corner, her face pale. Ji Xiang said, there are indeed flaws in the procurement, but they didn't cause actual losses. I looked at Qin Wei. Qin Wei continued, if Chairman Shen hadn't cancelled the large payment authorization, the prepayment would have already been spent. Once the payment is made, it will be extremely difficult for the company to recover it. An independent director frowned. Mr. Ji, why did you agree to skip Shen Tang's review at that time? Ji Xiang pressed his lips together. After the organizational adjustments, I think the General O office can push forward directly. Who proposed the organizational adjustments? The conference room fell silent. Ji Xiang glanced at Yi Mani. Yi Mani shook her head immediately. It's not me. I was just following General Manager Gu's arrangements. I opened the file. The draft of the organizational restructuring plan was sent by Secretary Yi to Ji Xiang. The email was displayed on the large screen. Yi Mani suggested merging the administrative center with the president's office and proposed that Shen Tang's management style is too rigid, not conducive to a younger team. She also wrote a sentence at the end, if Vice President Shen continues to hold approval authority, it will affect the efficiency of the president's decision-making. I finished reading this sentence and looked up at Ji Xiang. So you think I affect your decision-making efficiency? Ji Xian's face tightened in embarrassment. I only thought at the time that you were too tired. I laughed. Making me resign was actually to show concern for me. No one laughed. Ji Xiang also couldn't continue. Second item, adjustment of presidential office permissions. Attorney Ju presented the process records, the access, personnel, and file permissions for MS. Shen Tang have been cancelled without board authorization and without formal handover. MS. Yi Mani entered MS. Shen Tang's office and used her office equipment. This conduct violates the company's document management system. Yi Mani hurriedly said, it was Mr. Ji who told me to move in. I didn't know there were important documents inside. I watch her. You don't know. So you opened my drawer, took my scarf, used my old computer, and moved my filing box to the corner of the wall. Her eyes reddened. I just thought those were ordinary items. Then do you know that the internal budget cannot be disclosed externally? She didn't say a word. Ji Xiang finally spoke. Shen Tang. Enough. Mani indeed made mistakes, but she is not part of the management and should not bear the main responsibility. I nod. You finally tell the truth. He is puzzled for a moment. I look at the directors. All of Yi Mani's violations happened because Ji Xiang indulged her. She had no right to these authorities. Ji Xiang granted them to her. She had no right to advance related procurement. It was approved by Ji Xiang. She had no right to stand at the anniversary banquet representing the core team. And Ji Xiang arranged that as well. Ji Xiang looked at me. That gaze was terribly complex. Perhaps until this moment, He finally understood that I wasn't competing with Yimani for attention. I am liquidating him. Yimani is just a knife, the one holding the knife is him. A director tapped the table. Mr. Gu, you need to explain why you're trying to force the actual controller of the company to resign without going through the board. Gu Xian's lips moved. I don't know whether Shen Tang is the actual controller. Attorney Ju calmly opened the agreement. You know, your signature is on the agreement from 5 years ago. It's just that Ms. Shen Tang has kept it public for a long time to avoid affecting your external financing and image management. Ji Xiang stared at that agreement. His fingers trembled slightly. He finally remembered. Not that I forgot, not that I'm unwilling to remember, because to admit this agreement is to admit that the most important foundation in his so-called rags to riches myth is something I gave him. I say, Ji Xiang, I gave you face. The meeting room fell silent. I never told the investors that your initial funding came from me. I never told the employees that I paid the final balance for your mother's villa. I also never told the clients that every time you lose your temper, it's me who apologizes, renegotiates the contract, and revises the plan. I look at him. I'm giving you face, not so you can trample on me to praise others. Ji Xian's eyes slightly reddened. He lowered his voice and said, Tang, do we have to be like this between us? He hadn't called me by this title for a long time, but there was no fluctuation in my heart. Mr. Gu, please call me Chairman Shen. His face paled. Yimani suddenly started crying. Director Shen, I know I was wrong, but I really didn't mean to. President Gu has been good to me. I thought he merely admired me. I didn't intend to break up your marriage. I looked at her. Don't you know we are married? She froze. I opened another document. You're in your second week on the job, and Ji Xiang takes you to a client banquet. You post on social media with the caption, so a successful man can also be lonely. Someone asks if he's single, and you reply, some relationships exist only in name. Her face turned pale. I kept talking. That night, I called Ji Xiang, and you answered. You said he drank too much and slept on the sofa next to you. Ji Xiang suddenly looked up. Did you know about that time? Of course I knew. I look at him. I also know that you deleted the call log the next day. His lips are dry. I didn't do anything with her. I nod. Perhaps not. Yimani had just breathed a sigh of relief when I continued, but the most disgusting thing in marriage isn't necessarily physical infidelity. Sometimes it is you handing my dignity to another woman and letting her use it to test me. There was no one speaking in the conference room. This sentence is not evidence, but it is more embarrassing for Ji Xiang than evidence. Finally, the board made a resolution: suspend President Ji Xian's powers and require him to cooperate with the internal investigation, suspend all permissions of Yimani and subject her to disciplinary review, terminate the procurement with Hengqi Trading and reserve all rights to pursue accountability. With the resolution being read aloud, Ji Xiang sat on the chair, as if all his strength had been drained. I put away the documents. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. Shen Tang, let's talk. I bowed my head to look at his hand. This hand had led me through many roads before. Now, I only felt heavy. Let go. He didn't. I admit I haven't handled this well during this period. But our 7 years of feelings, you can't deny everything just because of Yimani. I withdrew my hand with a sharp pull. I'm not denying the 7 years. It's you, the person you are now. He stiffened. I turned around and left the meeting room. Behind me, Yimani was still crying. Ji Xiang didn't go to help her again. But this had nothing to do with me anymore. The next day, the company released an internal announcement. Ji Xiang was suspended from the powers of the president. Yimani was put under investigation. Hengqi procurement was. The announcement had barely been posted for half an hour when the company group exploded. Some were shocked, some were silent, and some started calling me Chairman Shen again. I didn't take over all affairs immediately. First, I let Qin Wei organize a self-inspection of the finances, had the legal department seal off recent contracts from the president's office, and had HR revert to the original approval process. Every step was not fast, but all was steady. Ji Xiang used to say I was slow. He said opportunities were fleeting, and the process could be made up later. But I've seen too many companies. It wasn't that they died for lack of opportunity, but because the boss thought they could bypass the rules. At 10 in the morning, Yiman Ni came to see me. Her access had been suspended. She couldn't go to the floor and could only wait in the first floor lobby. When I went downstairs, She was sitting on the sofa, with red and swollen eyes. She looked emaciated and pitiful. If it were before, I might think maybe she was young and naive, but now I won't. A person can make mistakes, but you can't step on someone else's wounds at every turn and still claim you're innocent. She stood up. Director Shin, I want to apologize to you. I sat down opposite her. Speak. Her tears immediately fell. I admit, I like President Gu, but I really didn't intend to hurt you. I just worshipped him too much. He said you and he had no feelings for a long time, only interests tied together. I thought so. Interu accepted her. So you've easily moved into my office, wearing my dress, using my scarf, and changing my entrepreneurial vision. Her crying stopped for a moment. Those things were my fault, but I was also too eager to prove myself. I looked at her. To prove yourself, is it by stealing someone else's place? She bit her lip. Mr. Shin, my family isn't well off. My uncle's company isn't doing well either. I just want to help my family a little. I smiled. Using Xinghan's money to help your family. Her face turned pale. I'll make amends. I can have my uncle cancel the contract. It's not a matter of you allowing it or not. The company has terminated the contract and will pursue accountability according to the process. She finally panicked. Mr. Shin, could you not call the police? I'm still young. I can't bear a stain. I looked at her. When you forced me to resign in front of the entire company, did you ever think about whether I would leave a stain? Tears welled up in her eyes. That was decided by General Manager Gu. I have no choice. I nodded. You see, you're still insisting on shifting the blame. She couldn't speak. I stood up. Yamani, tears are not a get out of jail card. You must bear what you have done. She suddenly grabbed my hand. Senior Sister Shin, please, if you let me go, I will never see General Gu again. I lowered my head and looked at her hand. Do you think I am settling scores with you because of Gu Xiang? She was stunned. I pulled my hand back. You overestimate him. I turned and walked. Just as I walked away, Gu Xiang arrived. When I reached the elevator door, he hadn't slept all night, and his eyes were full of bloodshot. Yimani saw him, as if seeing a lifeline. President Gu, she pounced forward. Gu Xiang instinctively steadied her, but then he looked at me and slowly let go of my hand. Yimani stiffened. I watched this scene, and there was not the slightest sense of pleasure in my heart. I just felt ironic. She once thought she had received favoritism. Only now does she realize that Gu Xiang loves himself the most when she could still prove his charm. He protected her when she began to drag him down. He would let go. Gu Xiang walked up to me. Let's talk, I said. For official matters, go to the legal department. For private matters, go to a lawyer. His voice became hoarse. I came home last night. You weren't home. I moved out. His face changed. When you took Yimani to the anniversary banquet day, he was stunned. I continued. What belongs to me has all been moved. What belongs to you? I haven't touched a bit either. His breath heaviened. Shintang, I don't want a divorce. I looked at him. You just want me to obey, want me to give way, want me to continue cleaning up your messes on your behalf, he hurriedly said. I admit I was wrong. I shouldn't have let Manny into the president's office. I shouldn't have pushed you to resign. But at that time I just felt you were too strong. We were always arguing. I wanted a more relaxed way of working, so you've become a more laid-back person. He looked distressed. I really don't have anything going on with her. I nodded. Whether you have something with her or not, it doesn't matter anymore. His eyes suddenly reddened. How could it not matter? I'm your husband. I looked at him. From the moment you handed me your resignation letter, you ceased to be yourself. Those words stabbed his face like a knife. He stood there, speechless for a long while. The phone rang at this moment. It was Mother Gu. Gu Xiang picked up and turned on the speakerphone. Mother Gu's sharp voice came through. Xiang, what did the villa's property management say about the arrears? The nanny says she won't work anymore, and the driver still needs to be paid. What does that woman Shintang mean? Does she really dare to stop the money? Gu Xiang looked at me subconsciously. I was very calm. Gu's mother was still yelling on the phone. Quick, get her to transfer the money over. She married into our Gu family. What's a little money to spend? Besides, she's already the chairwoman, and she still quibbles over such a small amount. Does she have any conscience? Gu Xian's face grew paler and paler. In the past, he always claimed he hadn't heard those words. Now the hands-free is on, and everyone can hear it. I looked at him. Mr. Gu, please also consult a lawyer for family matters. I stepped into the elevator. The doors slowly closed. Mr. Gu's mother's voice could still be heard outside. Xiang, speak. You're not really being controlled by her, are you? Gu Xiang didn't say a word, he just looked at me. In the last second before the elevator doors closed, I finally saw remorse in his eyes. Regret arrives too late. Those who are late cannot even get through the door. The day the divorce agreement was handed to Gu Xiang, he didn't sign. Lawyer Zhu called me. He says he wants to see you. I was looking at the internal audit report in the new office. Hearing this, I closed the file. Then let's set it at the cafe next to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Lawyer Zhu fell silent. Are you sure? Sure. Half an hour later, I met Gu Xiang at the cafe. He had lost a lot of weight. The suit was still expensive, but the tie was not tied properly. Before, I used to take care of these details for him. Now no one took care of them, and he finally no longer looked like that ever dignified President Gu. He saw me and stood up at once. Tang Tang. I sat down. Call me Shen Tang. His Adam's apple moved. Okay, Shen Tang. The waiter came over, and I ordered an Americano. He whispered, you used to drink it less bitter. I opened the file. People change. He forced a smile. Yes, people change. I pushed the divorce agreement aside. The property section is very clear. Premarital property belongs to each person. The remaining balance and maintenance fees for the Gu family villa I paid will be recoverable according to the nature of the loan. The funds your mother and your younger brother took from me will be processed in a separate case. He looked at the agreement, not turning a single page. Do you have to be this decisive? I looked up. Is it just me, or is it all of you? He was rendered speechless after a long while. He whispered, don't take my mother's words to heart. She's old and her words are harsh. I laughed. She's been saying such things for so many years. You only now find them harsh. His face turned pale. I thought you didn't care before. You don't think I don't care, I said. You know I care, but you thought I would endure it. His eyes reddened. Sorry. Those 3 words finally came, but when I was waiting for them, they didn't come. I won't wait anymore. They've arrived. The cruelest thing between people lies right here. Not every late apology will be accepted, he said. Yi Mani, I've already let her go. I will also cooperate with the investigation from Hungchi's side. I can give up being the president, and you can reclaim the management rights to the shares. Shen Tang, shall we start over? I looked at him. Start again, and then what? He said urgently. I'll change. I won't let anyone cross you again in the future. We'll manage the company together. And at home I'll make things clear to my mother as well. Gu Xiang, you still don't understand. He froze. I didn't leave you because of Yi Mani. I flipped to the last page of the contract, pointing at the signature spot. I'm doing this because you treat me as someone you can sacrifice. His face was deathly pale. I continued. When the company needs you to act a certain way, I step back. When your mother needs money, and I transfer funds. When you need someone to back you up, I sign and review contracts and stay up late fixing gaps. But when you want to please another woman, I'm still the first one to be pushed out. Tears welled up in his eyes. It was the first time I saw Gu Xiang cry so badly before. When his startup failed, he didn't cry. When his mother was hospitalized, he didn't cry. When the company almost went bankrupt, he didn't cry. Now he cried because he finally realized that the person who had always been behind him had really left. He grabbed the pen but hesitated to sign. I sign, and will really be finished. I look at the Civil Affairs Bureau outside the window. Some people smile to register, while some remain silent and divorce. No relationship reaches its end suddenly. It is a string of don't make trouble. It's a repeated please understand this for me. It's many nights when I waited for him to explain. But he stayed late working with Yi Mani. It's during a family banquet when Gu's mother shamed me. And he kept his head down, picking at his food. It's in the meeting room when he pushed his resignation letter toward me. I said, we're done long ago. We're just completing the formalities today. The hand holding the pen trembled violently. In the end, he still didn't sign. He put the pen down. I won't sign. If you want to sue, then sue. I nod. Okay, I don't dwell on it. I stow the documents and leave. He called after me. Shen Tang, do you really not love me at all? I paused for a moment. There was no turning back. Loved you. 2 words were enough. After returning to the company, the personnel notice was already prepared. During Gu Xian's suspension, I served as the temporary person in charge of the company. Yi Mani was terminated for seriously violating the company regulations, and the financially related loss portion would be pursued in accordance with the law. Hongqi Trade was placed on the blacklist. After the announcement was released, old Zheng came to see me. He stood at the door, looking a bit hesitant. Mr. Shen, President GU, I looked at him. Old Zheng sighed. Forget it, I won't say any more. I knew what he wanted to say. Old employees had seen our best. They would also feel regret. It's a pity that regret can't feed people or serve as a painkiller, I said. Old Zheng, the company will be more standardized from now on. It won't decide everyone's meals based on one person's mood again. Old Zheng nodded. That's good. In the afternoon, Lawyer Ju informed me that the divorce lawsuit materials had been submitted. At the same time, trouble arose again with Gu's family. Gu's mother, along with Jiu Xian's younger brother Jiu Shijia, ran to the lobby of the company. They wanted to see me but were stopped by the front desk. Mother Jiu shouted loudly in the hall, "Shentang, you heartless woman, you owe our Jiu family your present status. Now you turn your back and deny us." The front desk was scared and called me. I did not go down. I asked the legal department and security is needed to handle it. Mother Jiu is still shouting, "If you don't come out, I'll let everyone see how you bully your in-laws." I listened to the voice on the phone, opened the computer, and sent the transfer records of all these years to the legal department. Organize it into civil reimbursement materials. The legal affairs department paused. All of it. 20 minutes later, the legal affairs department came downstairs and handed a preliminary account list to Grandma Gu. Grandma Gu's voice cut off abruptly. The list was written clearly: villa final payment, Gu Shujia startup loan, Mother Gu's physiotherapy fee, nanny and driver expenses, living expenses, total amount, 8760,000. Mother Gu held the paper, her hands trembling. She had originally come to make trouble for my sake, but she discovered that she was the one in debt that night. Jiu Xiang sent me a long message. He said he didn't know I had paid so much. He said he thought that money was just a joint expense for us as a couple. He said his mother was too difficult to deal with, and he would handle it. Finally, he said, "Tang Tang. I really know I was wrong." I finished reading but did not reply. I just set him to do not disturb. Then I continued to look at the new management team list. As life moves forward, there's no need to look back at every step to see if the old person has kept up. 3 months later, the court delivered its judgment. Divorce granted, property divided according to the agreement and evidence. The Gu family should return part of the loan that is clearly owed, Hongqi Trading, due to contract fraud disputes. And the leakage of business information is held responsible for breach of contract. Yimani bears corresponding compensation and is also placed on the risk lists of several companies in the industry. Jiu Xiang no longer serves as the president of Xinghan. The board offered him an advisory position, but he declined. Some say he went to the provinces, some say he is preparing a new project. I didn't ask in my life. I finally no longer have to revolve around his news. A new Xinghan press conference will be held in June. This time, I personally reviewed the trailer. It's not to completely erase Jiu Xiang. On the contrary, I kept the parts that he should have. He did indeed make an effort in the past. I won't, like him, use power to alter the past. But I also brought back all the people who were erased. Laro Zheng, Qin Wei, the first batch of customer service, the first administrator, and even the intern who once helped us move tables in winter. Of course, there is me too in the video. I'm holding a pile of contracts and rushing into the old office from the rain. My hair is half wet, but my eyes are bright. Many veteran employees under the stage had their eyes reddened. I stood in the center of the podium. Behind me, the big screen read, Xinghan Tech's new chairman, Shen Tang. When the flashbulbs went off, I did not feel nervous. This is not the first time I've stood on the stage, only the past is too long ago, and I've become used to standing behind others. The host asked me, "Mr. Shen, what was the first thing you did after taking over Xinghan?" I said, "Put the system back in the place where it belongs." There were people laughing in the audience. I also laughed. And also, return everyone's contributions to each person. After the press conference ended, Qin Wei came to me with a bouquet. "Director Shen, congratulations." I took the flowers. "Congratulations to you as well, Director Qin." She was a bit startled. I handed her the appointment document. "The financial department will be under your charge from now on. You're reliable and have principles." Qin Wei's eyes turned red. "Thank you, Director Shen, old Zheng was joking from the side. What about me? I smiled and handed him another document. Chairman of the Technical Committee, Engineer Zheng. Don't think it'll be tiring. He took it, muttering discontentedly, but the corners of his eyes showed a smile. Outside the press conference, the reporters hadn't dispersed yet. I had just walked to the side door when I saw Jiyu Xiang standing by the car. He was much calmer than 3 months ago, dressed in a dark coat. He was holding a box in his hand. I stopped in my tracks. He walked over, not in a hurry to explain as before. Congratulations. Thank you. He handed the box to me. This is your ring. I found it in the drawer of the old house that day. I didn't take it, just throw it away. His hand froze. Do you really not want it anymore? I looked at that box. That ring was bought in the second year of our startup. It wasn't expensive back then. We were all short of money. Jiyu Xiang saved 3 months' worth of salary. He put it on my finger by the river and said, Tang Tang, when I succeed, I'll make sure you stand on the highest place. He succeeded later, but he wanted to push me down from that position. I averted my gaze. It belongs to the past. Jiyu Xian's eyes reddened slightly, but he didn't argue further. My mom and Shujia's side, I'll make them pay. What happened before? I was the one who wronged you. This time, I didn't retort, just said, I hope in the future you truly understand that respect isn't something you only offer after losing something. He nodded. I understand. We stood at the side door of the press conference through the crowds coming and going. It was as if we were separated by a full 7 years. He suddenly said, Shentang, if I hadn't made you resign back then, would things be different for us? I thought for a moment, perhaps we'd part a little later. He forced a smile. Just a bit later. Yeah, I looked at the sunlight in the distance, because the problem isn't with that resignation letter. It just made me finally see clearly that you had long since placed me in a position where I could be sacrificed. Jiyu Xiang didn't say a word. I turned and got into the car. This time, he didn't chase after me. When the car drove away, I saw him still standing there in the rear view mirror. The figure grew smaller and smaller. Finally, it disappeared around the corner. I didn't cry, nor did I look back. At night, I returned to my new home. The house isn't big, but everything was chosen by me. There is a long table by the window. On the table are the flowers I received today. I changed clothes and cooked myself a bowl of noodles. When the water boiled, my phone lit up. It was a message from Lawyer Ju. The judgment execution materials have been submitted. Leave the rest to me. Live your life well. I replied to her. Okay. After a while, Qin Wei sent a photo. The company's big screen is displaying the new values: transparency, respect, boundaries, responsibility. Her caption, finally like a normal company. I laughed out loud. After finishing the noodles, I opened the computer. There are many work emails in the inbox. There are also greetings from strangers. I took my time to deal with them, not in a hurry, not panicking. The city lights outside the window began to brighten. I suddenly remembered that Jiyu Xiang once said that when a woman is too strong, no one will love her. At that time, for the sake of this sentence, I hid my sharpness, learned to be gentle, learned to yield, and learned to hide my own name behind others. Only now do I understand. True love will not ask you to become smaller. Those who dislike you for being too bright were, to begin with, standing in the shadows. I shut down the computer and walked over to the window. My face was reflected in the glass. 32 years old, divorced, regained power, no husband, no in-laws. There isn't that Shentang who always doubts herself in relationships. I raised my glass and gently tapped the reflection on the window. Welcome back.